Good
Yo,
morning, everybody. Mortgage Marketing Club. We have a great webinar today. We have Christopher Roberti from Hartford Funding. And today's call is going to be all about getting new referral partners. But if this is your first time watching Mortgage Marketing Club, you're listening to us, go on Facebook, join our group. It's free to join. We collaborate, we share strategies, and of course, we do our webinars. So today's guest, Chris Roberti. Chris, obviously, we're going to be talking about getting referral partners. But for those that don't know you, and we want them to know you, why don't you take us first? Give us a quick 2-minute bio, how you got into the mortgage industry, where you're at, what you're doing.
sure. Happy to do so. First and foremost, guys, thanks for inviting me. Super pumped to chat with everybody and happy to answer any questions you may have. As you can tell from the accent, I'm a New Yorker. Graduated college in 2001. Unfortunately, had a job lined up on Wall Street. Unfortunately, 9/11 happens. There's no jobs in sight. Bartended and sleeping on my mom and dad's couch. The DJ's brother started a mortgage shop and asked me if I knew anything about mortgages. I said no, and he said, "Okay, you're hired." My first boss told me that we worked half days, which was 9 to 9, and we worked every Saturdays. I didn't know any different because I was a 21-year-old kid, 22 actually, and here I am at 45 years old and still in the mortgage business. It's the only thing I've ever known kind of professionally in the job market. That's really just a quick 2-minute backdrop of
Awesome.
who I am.
Awesome story. Wow. You still talk to that guy?
We're friends on Facebook. Does that count?
Yeah, I guess nowadays it does count. It does count nowadays.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So then, yes.
awesome. Appreciate that, Chris. So let's jump right into it. And I think probably the first and foremost important question, how do you identify referral partners who you want to work with? What is your strategy behind that?
Okay. So how do you identify someone that you want to work with?
Yeah,
Right?
what are
Is
you
it, yeah.
doing? Like, are you,
Okay.
obviously it's different for everybody. Some
Sure.
people might just focus on RETR and they look for the top 40 producers in their market. That's it. I just want the top 40.
Wait, I think we got to mute somebody. Oh, there you go. So I got a little, I was sorry to hear you on that last sentence, and I apologize. Can you just repeat that one part, please?
Yep. How do you identify referral partners that you
Sure.
want to work with? What is your strategy?
Absolutely.
Like, what do you look for? It doesn't have to necessarily be realtors, it could be financial planners.
Right.
What are you looking for?
So I know this is probably it's not a perfect science, but sometimes it's just a vibe, right? So particularly going back to what I first started with before getting into the mortgage business, I was a bartender for a bunch of years, right? So you kind of become a people person. I think you can tell on someone's work ethic, how they work, how they operate. You can kind of get a vibe for them. And I certainly sometimes will lean into that. Somebody that's super attentive, quick to write back, very oriented. That's obviously somebody that you want to gravitate to and put your best foot forward. But I will tell you this, you never want to you never want to judge a book by its cover, right? So you want to be open-minded, and particularly up on the Northeast and more particularly on New York, there are so many different people that are associated with one transaction, right? So there are multiple opportunities to start a new referral partnership, right? That's particularly on a loan being originated, but that can go through any sort of different referral source.
Right. And you know what? I should take a step back. I forgot it. I wanted to mention something when you were done with your bio. That was very humble because Chris, we should mention personally, 2024, you did over 20 million in production. And
Yeah.
this is while leading a team, which I
Yes.
think, especially in
Yeah.
2024's numbers, just to go over that, that's really terrific work. And it's a testament to who you are in the industry and what you do, because you're not just producing, you are leading the sales team.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. Actually, December, we had a little bit of luck. So I was able to get it almost to 30 million for the year, which was something I wanted to try to get
Wow.
to. And I wasn't able to reach my goal of 30, but I just missed it by just actually one loan, who was my cousin, that closed on January 3rd. It'll make for an awkward Thanksgiving, but I still love him. So it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. But I've always felt, I've always gravitated to people that I feel, and I know this isn't the best analogy, that are in the trenches with me, right? I always gravitated towards those managers that did the origination, did the hard part. I would tell everybody that's on here, I think we as salespeople, we do the hard part, right? I think what happens in the mortgage business is that there's a lot of other people that support us, but we're doing the difficult part, right? And that's the origination of it. That's making referral partners happy, making customers happy, doing all those things. And I think I'm able to have a very loyal team with me because they know I'm not asking them to do anything that I'm already doing. And I think people respect that and appreciate that because they know that I'm putting in the work as much as they are.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
and I love that. So the next question we had is, do you have any type of key or secret sauce? So when you're going after these new referral partners, do you have any
right.
type of key or secret sauce where you're able to make a great first impression when reaching out to them?
So I think the one thing that a lot of people got away from, particularly during the COVID time, because for obvious reasons, but I would encourage every single person to try to go to their settlement, go to the closing, right? Because there are a couple of people that you can solicit for new relationships right there at the closing table. Everybody's in a jovial mood, right? When you're closing, you're buying a house, people are happy, 99 out of 100 times, right?
Well, Chris, wait a minute. When you say go to the settlement, what do you mean? What's a settlement?
It's closing day.
Gotcha. So go to the closing.
Go to the closing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here in the
settlement.
South, we don't know what. Yeah, we don't call it a settlement.
Okay, no problem. So closing day,
Sorry.
right? So it's all good. So right, you get a closing. You have a closing tomorrow. I would encourage everybody to go. Something that I do, which is a really nice touch. Bed Bath and Beyond. We all know Bed Bath and Beyond, right? You go there. They have welcome mats with the. So what I do is I get the borrower's last name. So if it's Roberts, get R. It's 1999. Take the welcome mat. I staple my business card. It's a little bit of an old school approach, but you come in to the closing to settlement. You have a little gift for your buyer. It's personalized. It also has your business card on it. I've been doing that for 15 years. It is something that can separate yourself. People appreciate it. But more importantly, to answer your original question, at that closing table, while the buyers are, closing the closing docs, it always takes between 45 minutes to an hour and 15, 45 minutes to an hour and 15, right? You're chatting up the seller's agent. You're asking, hey, who do you use? You're chatting up the title closer. Hey, who's doing right here? Who's doing wrong? Have you seen any problems in regards to closings, things of that nature? You're working the room. And I can't begin to tell you how many times it's a door opener. Now, to further that, what I do is, let's just say up here, somebody works at Daniel Gale as the seller's agent. After the closing, I have one day dedicated that I'm on the road. That day, for me, it's Wednesdays. I'm going to their office. I'm dropping off some cards and just saying, hey, congratulations again on the closing at 123 Mockingbird Lane. It is the consistency of having to do that week in and week out that's been able, it's allowed me to be able to close loans in a challenging market.
So, Chris, just to go back to that for a second, just to make sure I understand this so everybody else, you have your closing, you close 123 Mockingbird with, and the realtor, Jane Doe at Daniel Gale Realty, you mentioned, you're going back to that office.
Yes.
The next Wednesday, whatever the Wednesday is,
correct,
to the office that you close. Are you going to other offices, or if you just, right now, if business is light, you just have the one closing?
Right. So what I'm doing is particularly to answer your question on that following day, I'm going to the person that didn't refer me the business. It's the new referral person. So it's a squeaky wheel, right?
Yeah.
And then during that day, listen, it's a 12-hour day, right? I periodically go to people that always give me business because it's good to pop in and say hello and it's just out of sight, out of mind. But to be able to get more business, new business, right? That's how I'm able to do it in a different approach, right? It's dropping off some cards. It's saying hello. Hey, we just had a great experience. Please keep me in mind if you need help on the next one.
Got it. Love it. We talk to loan officers all the time. I don't think anybody has ever shared that strategy that they're going back to the office from the closing. That's Okay, very cool. I like
Interesting.
it. Love it.
And it's different.
Yeah, yeah. So here, let's come to I think what's probably going to be one of the more important questions everybody's going to want to know. What what methods are you using to reach out, right? What's been most cost effective? What are the methods that you use? Cold calling realtors, financial planners, um, social media, email, networking events. What are you doing? What are you encouraging your team to do? And what's also been the most effective?
The consistency of social media is obviously very, very effective for
Okay.
us, and it's very important. And the secret sauce in that regard is the consistency of it. I think it's a very delicate dance. You know, nobody wants to be the annoying guy that's posting 7 times a week, right? That's because then that just becomes white noise, right? You're just kind of scrolling right past it. But I encourage, you know, I was fortunate enough to get on the social media side of things a little bit on the earlier side. About 5, 6 years ago, I was able to develop, you know, over 40,000 followers organically, not through pay to play and all those sort of things. So, and by a lot of trial and error, to be honest with you, but I found that to be one way. And then the other way is a very old school approach where on that one particular day a week, I'm going to go into an office. I'll pick a town here on Long Island where I'll knock on the door or a couple of different doors, and I'll just say, "Hey, how are you?" Very respectfully. I know that you probably have somebody in office. I'm sure they're great. I just want to leave a couple cards here. Thank you for your time, you know, just to keep me into consideration. The point is the consistency of that as well helps. And again, it's just a couple of hours out of your day. And then what I usually do is that I'll pick a card from either the office manager or manager there. And then I'll make sure that night I send them an email just thanking them for allowing me to come by. But then you have their email, right? So
Right.
then once a month, you know, I try to reach back out to them just to stay consistent in regards to reaching back out. It just goes back to the saying I said earlier. It's, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You just want to constantly be going and asking for new business. And I think, Ian, if I could further that for just a second, I think we've seen all of us on here. We've seen that recent kind of Reddit stat, right? In 2021, 420,000 licensed loan officers. I think you're probably knowing where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And then by the end of 2024, there was only 92,000, and that wasn't even taking into consideration some people that probably didn't renew their licenses, right, for 2025.
Right.
So
I believe the stat's been revised. I think it's
okay,
around like 158 around, but it's still
for right
down.
now,
Don't get me. Yeah, it's still down.
so it's still down a third, right? I think
Yeah, there's still a
right.
lot less competition.
Petition, right? So either way, the point still is valid, and I
Yeah.
think um, even with that number being corrected, still there's not a ton of people out there as there was not even 3 years ago or 4 years
Right.
ago now, right? So, and I also think that there are probably some people that have thrown in the towel that are probably not as engaged as people are that are in this chat. And
Yes.
I do think there's a real opportunity with a little bit of hard work and a little bit of, again, consistency. There might be some accounts that you can land that probably weren't even an option, not even a year ago.
Right.
So I'm incredibly optimistic. And I've always found CPAs are great, attorneys are great, but really the bloodline of the realtors, right?
Right.
They are, if you want to do consistent business month in, month out, and you don't need 100 realtors giving you business. If you can get 8 to 10 that kind of consistently give you at bats, you can fund $2.5 to $3 million every single month.
Right. Well, I mean, look, you're doing it while managing a team. I just want to
Right.
come back to a couple of things. You shared, you know, your outreach. Are you doing any kind of phone calls? Are you calling on realtors, new realtors, not your current realtor relationships, but to generate new relationships? Are you calling any, like legit picking up the phone and dialing and calling? Are you doing any cold email outreach?
Honestly, Ian, I'm not.
It's strictly all. So your approach is you're posting consistently on social media.
Yep. Yep.
Whether it's just one, sounds like you're doing one post a day, maybe 5 posts a week. You're not doing
Uh,
multiple posts a day.
No, definitely not. And I would even
Okay.
say I have to probably post more. I'm probably posting maybe 2 to 3 times a week, to be
Okay.
honest with you. I wouldn't say it's a daily occurrence. Now, everybody's different. That works for me, right? People could probably argue, I think Ian, you'd probably be one of them that says you should probably be doing it a little bit more. I found that it works for me this way, but everybody's different, right? I've also been doing this for 20 years, so I have a little bit more of a consistent
Mhm.
referral. I'm a little bit more established. I
Right.
think if you're just getting into the business, you probably should be doing it a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so different than any activity in the industry. Ian, if you're starting out, you need to be prospecting, $30 a day. But as you've been doing
Yeah.
this for 20 years and you built a pipeline, you're probably only, calling 5 new realtors a week. So, Chris, getting
Yeah.
back to the social media and how you got the business, because I pulled up your Instagram account, 1,100 posts, 42,000 followers. That's incredible. What platform would you say that you get the most bang for your buck in terms of getting business? As you
Instagram.
were talking, Instagram. Okay,
Instagram.
so let's talk about that. And I know we sent questions out. This probably wasn't one of the questions, but since you started talking about Instagram, I want the people listening to like be able to leave here with some tangible strategy. So how are you getting business on Instagram specifically? Like, are you reaching out to realtors on Instagram?
So we're really out. We reach out to realtors on Instagram, of
Who's
course, and I
we?
think me and the team.
Okay, so your team is also using your Instagram account or
Yeah.
their
So
own.
at Hartford Funding, we actually bought a media company as well, Mindset Media,
Okay,
which helps with a lot of engagement through social media. Rick, Ian, as you guys know, particularly being a heavy originator and also running a team, sometimes my time is not my own, right?
yeah,
So in an effort to try to be as consistent as possible, particularly on the social media things, uh, you need help. And our social media team and our marketing team are great with helping, reaching out to realtors, but more importantly, engaging as well. I think it's important, if a realtor posts a win, say congratulations, post, you know, DM and say, hey, listen, how are you able to get this done? I'm curious to know. It seemed like a challenging transaction, right? I think it's important to let realtors know, hey, listen, if you have any sort of challenging loans, we have every program under the sun to be able to help you get there. That's the way that we do it through Instagram. It's worked. To a point, I think we can do a better job with it. But the nice thing with the social media, for good or for bad, is there is no roadmap, right? It's not like you can lean on a guy that started doing mortgages 40 years ago and say, hey, listen, hey, Bob, how did you do your Instagram posts way back when, right? So
mhm,
it's in some ways kind of a new frontier and it's ever evolving, which is kind of exciting.
awesome.
Yeah. So going back now to getting new realtors, right? New referral partners. Obviously, you have the outreach that you shared with us what you're doing. So let's go to the next step of that, right? How are you overcoming situations with the realtors or any referral partner that is not giving you the business? They're hesitant to use you, right? Chris, I never heard of you. I've been using Rick for the last 5 years and he's great. Or, how, like, what is your comeback? What are you doing to win over them, right? To get past that hesitancy to use Chris. Chris, I never heard of your company. I never heard of Hartford, right?
Right.
Obviously, those are like usually the two things. So,
Sure.
how are you overcoming that? If you could share
Well,
those strategies.
sure. So to answer kind of the first part, it's like, hey, listen, I used Rick for 5 years. He was great. I always say respectfully, but a little tongue in cheek. Well, there's a reason you're probably on the phone with me now, right? We have some sort of problem or whatever the case may be. Let's try to get the customer into the house or get this loan accomplished, right? In regards to myself, I always encourage people to, uh, what I like to do is, I always say, look at my NMLS. I'm 14701. That's a very short, small NMLS number, right? You look at some guys' NMLS numbers and it looks like a bank account number, right? So
Routing, yeah.
I've been doing this for a long time, right? I'm certainly not saying I'm perfect, but I've been doing this for 20 plus years. So if we're on the phone, I'm here to help. I can appreciate the hesitancy because that means you're looking out for your customer. And what I would encourage them to say is just give me an opportunity, right? We're on the phone for a reason. Allow me to speak to your customer. Let me try to help us get this accomplished for you, right? Because clearly, if you've had somebody, right, and you have a little bit of a challenging loan, I've gotten some sort of positive feedback, but from somebody that has had you pick up the phone. So in a nice way, what I'm saying is just let me do my job. I haven't let you down yet, right? So just give me the opportunity to get it done for you.
All right. That's good. And that'll work for people that have been in it for a while that want to grow their referral partners, right? That want to
Sure.
add. So now
The
let's
flip side.
flip side to that, right? You got somebody
Right.
new on your team at Hartford
Sure.
Funding. They put him on your team. You recruited him, etc.
Right.
What are you sharing with them? How are you coaching them? What are you telling them? How are you working with them to overcome these rejections, right?
I'm very, very hands-on in the beginning, particularly with our newer guys, because I think that's very, very important, right? So I don't want to say I'm parroting over their shoulder, but I'm really walking them through that process. And I think for newer people right now, I would be very, very excited. I would be doing all the things that I said. Their closings probably aren't as much as mine are now, but the closings that you do have, you should be going to every single one of them. You should be going on the road, knocking on doors, old school approach, right? Now, to answer your question, for someone new, I would be leaning on the people that you respect the most at the place that you're currently working at, right? There has to be some people there that are successful. I would say be a sponge and don't be hesitant to ask for help. We've all been there. And if you surround yourself with the right people, they'd be more than willing to obviously help you and get there. And they'll be able to kind of navigate you through some of the feedback that you're going to get with the hesitancy of saying, hey, listen, I've never heard of ABC Mortgage. Why you?
Right.
No, that's a great question. That's great feedback. So for somebody that, let's say that you had a brand new loan officer join your team, they don't know what they're doing. What advice would you give them to go out and network and build realtor relationship? I mean, obviously the social media component is a component of it, but as you mentioned, like that takes time and consistency. And a lot of times, like that time and consistency might not happen for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months.
I always set proper expectations, Rick. I tell people, and I don't know if this is the right thing or the wrong thing, but I tell guys, say, listen, get ready to not make money for 6 months. Not everybody wants to hear that, but if you set proper expectations for a new person, if they understand that, and then, listen, Lady Luck's on their side to catch a loan or two in those first 6 months, great. But if they understand, hey, listen, I bring it back to myself. When I first started first 6 months, I was bartending 3 nights a week to make sure that I'm able to kind of just survive or live, right? So for that first 6 months, I would just eat, sleep, and breathe everything to make this work. I think with the mortgage business, you have to have a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. You got to be able to believe in yourself and bet on yourself. And I think if you feel that way, right, and you're willing to say, all right, I'm going to carve out the next 6 months of my life, and I'm almost going to disappear. And all I'm going to do is do everything I can to get into mortgage business full time. That's what I would do. Networking, I think networking is great. Networking events are important, but I would encourage people to I don't want to use the word leery, but make sure people are there for the right purposes. I've gone to plenty of networking events where people just kind of stand around talking about the glory days. That's not what I want to surround myself with.
That sounds like all networking events.
Right. I personally, yeah. No, you're kind of right. I don't really love, to be honest with you, the networking events.
I stopped going to them. Yeah.
So
because
I'd love to give a real tangible example of something that I think does work. Last Friday, it was slow. It was 3 o'clock on a Friday, right? Not a whole lot going on. The week was coming to an end. And I said, you know what? I reached out to a local realtor in my town. I said, you want to go to happy hour? Grab a couple of beers, get a pizza, bring a couple of realtors with you. I said, sure, why not, right? Who would turn down a couple of free beers? Realtor comes in with 2 others. Yeah, all right, well, the free pizza, right? There you go.
Kidding.
So office manager comes in with 2 realtors. One of the realtors has, kind of a panic look on their face. Right then and there, they got a loan that's going south. I said, all right, well, listen, how can I help? As we're kind of sitting, talking at happy hour, we were able to kind of work it through. Now we're in contract. I got the loan disclosed yesterday. Point being is that I like that those kind of smaller groupings. You're able to connect on a more personal level, compared to some huge networking type event where I just don't think it's. I feel like those are a little antiquated. That's just my personal opinion on those.
Interesting. So reaching out to a realtor's office, and look, that could work for a CPA's office, an attorney's office, if you know they have opportunities like you know who the financial planners are, hopefully, or you have somebody on your team that can do their research and say, this office feeds business to it.
And the financial planner pitch is the easiest pitch in the world, right? You're going to go you're going to go to an independent an independent financial planner, and you're going to say, hey, listen, all I'm going to do is close your customer's mortgage, right? So God forbid your customer closes a loan with Chase and you're at ABC Financial Planning, right? Guess what happens? Your customer's information goes into their database. And every year when kids graduate from college and they want to be a financial planner, guess what happens? Your customer gets cold called to the end of time, right? So if you want to keep your customer and you feel confident, you don't want them to get constantly solicited, we'll do the mortgage for you and we will just do the mortgage. You don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah, that's right.
We are coming close on time. So I don't know if you want to open it up for questions or if you have one last question.
Yeah, if anybody does have any questions for Chris, please drop them in the chat box. I wanted to come back to just one other thing that, is always interesting to learn what strategies people are doing. What are you doing to stay top of mind with these referral partners? Are you sending out a newsletter? Do you send out rate sheets? What are you doing to stay top of mind with all these referral partners?
So obviously nobody sends out rate sheets really anymore. That's kind of a thing that you don't want.
My inbox gets them every day.
Yeah, and you delete them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I say this all the time when it comes to that particular part, right? If you're two-thirds, go to a dentist. If you have a tax question, go to an accountant, right? If you have a question about a mortgage, go to a mortgage guy. Don't send out rate sheets so that a realtor, God forbid, misreads it, and then all of a sudden expectations aren't properly met, right? You're setting yourself up for failure. So what I'm doing in top of mind, again, it's the social media postings through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm doing that, right? And then again, top of mind, I'm carving out one full day each week to go ahead, solicit new business, and then go to my trusted referral partners as well, right? You have enough time in one day a week to be able to get in front of people. And don't forget, it's rolling every week, right? So if you don't see one guy one week, you can see him the following week or the week after that. So that's how I'm able to stay top of mind with all of my particular referral sources.
Awesome. I don't see anything entered. Rick, I don't know if you have anything else. We're coming up on time
I think
here.
That wraps it up.
All right. Well, Chris, really appreciate you coming on Mortgage Marketing Club and sharing your strategies for getting new referral partners. There's any advice you would want to give a new loan officer that's just starting out, what would that be to build a referral network?
Stay the course, man. Stay the course, right?
Stay the course. Love
you
it.
got into it for a reason.
Consistency.
Yep. Consistency and stay the course. You got into this for a reason. You believe in yourself. Just stay with it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for coming on. If
Thanks
anybody wants to follow up, Chris, what's the best way people can follow you?
Instagram. So Mr. Mortgage, mr.mortgage_Roberti, Roberti. Hard not to find me.
Awesome. And if it's, again, first time watching this on the playback, join us on Facebook. Do the search, Mortgage Marketing Club, free group. Thank you so much, everybody, for hopping on. And thank you for those that are watching this. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Rick.
See you, boys. Take it easy, guys. Have a nice day.